So, what is NLP? Given what we've said here, NLP is human functioning, is human psychology, and this functioning is a function of communication. How do you communicate to yourself? Well, you communicate to yourself with the representational systems, then you classify it with words. So you classify it, categorize it with words, and then you can categorize those words with even more words. And so you communicate to yourself. So self-communication begins with this awareness of your thinking. So one of the real benefits of NLP, practitioner, master practitioner, is people become self-aware like they've never become aware of before. Was that true of you, for you, when you first learned it? Became more aware of what you're doing and how you're doing it. So you discover your own self-awareness and how that this thinking puts you in states. It activates your neurology. So here's a basic principle of NLP. As you represent, so you send signals to your neurology and to your body, and your body is designed to actualize it. So you could scare the hell out of yourself by taking something and bringing it really close and representing it, you know, saying it's going to always be here. So, and then your body's going to just, the problem isn't with your body. The body's just doing what it actualizes. And so the key then will always be the communication key. So whether it's at this level or at the higher levels, we communicate to ourselves, and then that creates the responses that we're getting. So as you represent, as you think, so you are. Now, as soon as we say that, we have just identified NLP as a cognitive psychology model. Emotions are secondary. Emotions make perfect sense. Think that and you're going to feel that. So kinesthetics respond to the visual and auditory. So here becomes something really useful for coaches, for consultants, for trainers, for therapists. If we know this is what is at the control of this. So in the body is going to be emotions. So emotions are going to come out of here, and we're going to feel and respond and act according to how we think. So this distinguishes NLP from the emotional psychologies that think that the emotion is the primary. Now it's true, you can use your body in different ways than you're using it, and it'll evoke new thoughts. So it is a system, but it's mostly the pictures and the sounds and the words drive the kinesthetics. And so we look to any expert for what they're doing, but the key to the modeling will be at this level, and this level, so understanding the messages being sent. What we added in Neuro-Semantics that is not explicit in NLP is that when you have words, now it's not just thinking, it's not just thoughts, it's beliefs. And when you have a belief, that belief is not just a signal, it's a command. So here's another distinction that's going to be really critical in modeling. So you're thinking what? And that thinking enables you to do what? And what are the beliefs that support that? Because the beliefs are a command to the nervous system, because the belief is a confirmation of what's real, whether it's real or not, but it's a confirmation. And when you believe it, it operates like a placebo effect in the body, or a no placebo effect. So it can be positive, it can be negative, it can be a blessing, it can be a curse. So that's where beliefs come in as part of this human functioning and this communication. So the first communication system that we want to set up is, are we communicating effectively to ourselves? Because if you're not communicating effectively to yourself, kiss this goodbye. You can try and try and try, but if you're making a mess on the inside, number one, you're not going to be in the best state, and what you're communicating is not going to be real clear and precise. So NLP is a communication model. When people ask me what NLP is, it's a communication model. So it's about how we represent or code our understandings and knowledge, and what that code does in terms of how it programs us to operate. And so it's a communication system. And once I get this communication clear, then this communication with other people will be much more effective. So that's another really major definition of what NLP is, a communication model. As a communication model, then we've got several features here. The first representation, the first communication model is the representational model. Then it's the meta model. It's the meta model. Meta model is about words. So that was the first model of NLP, the model of words, how words work, what words do to our movies that we play in our mind, to the experiences we have in our state. So the meta model is a set of distinctions, linguistic distinctions, with questions. So that's all it is, just 11 or 12 linguistic distinctions with a question, usually several questions, that if a person codes something with this kind of a word, ask this question, and it'll take it from the words back to the experience. So if somebody asks you what the meta model is, that's a very short, succinct description of the meta model. The meta model puts people back at experience. So state or experience. And the meta model are questions that forces a person to go back to experience. Now the language used in the meta model, coming from transformational grammar, is that when you ask the question, you do a transdiverational search to the referential index. Don't you love that language? Transdiveration. You're finding the source, transdiverational search, to the reference. So what are you referring to? So let's say parenting sucks. You know, okay, what are you talking about? What parent? And the person may, in his mind, go back to dad and the way dad punished and the way dad was a dictator. And so transdiverational search to that referential index. Index, time, space, person. Who, when, where. So indexing the source. And this is something we all do. It's how we think. It's how we make sense of anything. You say a word, 5th grade class, and you're all doing transdiverational searches to your referential index. And it may be pictures, it may be sounds, it may be sensations, it may be feelings, as you go back to make sense of those words. And so, knowing this is how people think, then as neurolinguistic programmers, when we ask people questions, it's not innocent. And you never know where they're going to go or what's going to happen. And if you've got a fragile person, someone who doesn't have a good hold on reality, and you say some words, they can go, and all of a sudden they're in absolute misery. And you go, what? And so the meta model helps us to understand how this process works and how people go back to that experience because they use that as their reference, their referential index. Now, we'll be doing that on purpose to model pieces of excellence. So when you ask someone about someone who is a great salesperson or someone who just is a loving parent, and you ask them those questions, well, where did you learn that? Who are you thinking about? And they go back to that original experience. So the meta model sends us back to experience with those questions. So the meta model is a set of questions that essentially answers the question, how do you know? How do you know? She rejected me. So I'm going to now do I'm going to deal with the unspecified verb. Rejected, what do you mean by rejected? How do you know she rejected you? So that sends a person in to get the referent. Well, she stuck her tongue out at me. Oh, she stuck her tongue out. So we go back to so you drew a conclusion. You drew a conclusion. And you're calling it rejection. So this is how the meta model works. Unspecified nouns and verbs. Unspecified modifiers. And then the deletions. What's being left out. He's much better than me. Better? Better how? Better in what way? Better about what? So we're getting more specific and sending it back to something see, hear, feel. Then there are the overgeneralizations. And so the overgeneralizations would be, the most obvious one is all or nothing or always or everybody. So nobody likes me. And so then we just challenge that word with, we hear that word and we say nobody, ever. And so we challenge it to take a person back. Has there ever been an exception? Because they've overgeneralized. So we're looking for the exception. Then there are statements like boys shouldn't cry. So we got a whole bunch of cultural statements everywhere. And these statements just sound the truth. And so this is the lost performative. That is, the person who made that map, where is he? I want to talk to him. Says who? Where'd you get that idea? So we're looking for the source of that lost performative, the performer of that map. And so that's the question for that distinction. Then we got the distortions. So we got deletions and generalizations and distortions. And the distortions are the things that are most messed up. And probably the most messed up distortion is the normalizations. Normalizations. You remember normalizations? Normalizations. So a normalization is a verb acting like a noun. So nouns are stately things. They're like statues. They're stately. Verbs are active things. They're doing things. So you got a verb who thinks, I wish I could grow up and just be solid. And so it stands up and I'm a relationship. I'm not relating. So the verb is pretending this inauthenticity of verbs. Can you believe it? So when verbs get a big head and become arrogant, they act like nouns. But they're not nouns. So inside of the normalization is a hidden verb who's feeling insecure. And so we ask about the hidden verb inside there. And this brings it back into action. Because normalization freezes the world. So it's a whole bunch of things. My self-esteem is low because my relationships feel under duress. You know, so you get 3 normalizations, you pack them together, and the worst thing is, I know what you mean. Because that's an induction. So we got the distortions with normalizations, cause effect. She makes me angry. So there's a cause effect that actually maybe a correlation or something else, but that's not the actual cause. Complex equivalence. When she rolls her eyes, I know she is dismissing me. So now rolling eyes and dismissing, same thing. So it's equaled. So complex equivalence. The equivalence is complex because one is rolling eyes and the other is dismissing. So one's at one level and one's at another level, and somehow they've gotten to be now the same thing. Complex equivalence. So these are the linguistic distinctions of the meta model, which once you know the meta model, for me, it just opens up everything, and now I cannot get bamboozled by words. Because if I just run with the words without questioning, then the words will do induction, and it may not be a very healthy induction. And so that's the value of the meta model, which hopefully you know those distinctions and those questions. And you'll need to do that, and we'll practice it this afternoon when we go looking for some limiting beliefs. So one of the things this communication model does is teaches you to be skeptical in a healthy way. So don't just accept the words at face value. They may be false words. They may be pseudo words. So in the extended meta model, that was one of the distinctions from Korzybski that I added to the meta model, pseudo words. What are you referring to? So some words have no reference. So that's where the meta model comes in, and it'll be one of the key tools that we're going to use in modeling an experience as we take someone's words and bring it down to see what we actually do in process verbs to achieve some outcome. Let me stop again and entertain some questions and see how we're doing. Everybody with me? So, any questions so far? Okay, so let's one up here in the front row. Harvey.
How do you apply culture in terms of words and how it's being said? Some people would have a cultural expression, like the Filipinos, when they point direction, they use their mouth. And when you do that in another context, a foreigner might get offended.
Oh, yeah.
So the kinesthetic value has certain connotations for other people.
Right. So the meta model is trying to find meaning. What meaning are you giving to whether someone rolling their eyes or using their mouth to point direction? I didn't know that about Filipinos. Is that what you're doing? But yeah, we're looking for what is the significance you're giving to? How have you framed it? What meanings? What significance? So what do you call it? So the language, the languaging of it. What do you call it? How do you think it works? So that's the cause effect of the meta model. And cause effect is an interesting distortion because you get used to a way something works in a certain culture, go to another culture and it doesn't work that way, and then you're kind of disoriented. Well, how come it's not working? because it really wasn't a cause effect. It was just a cultural artifact of how some people gave meaning to something at a certain time that has continued among those people. And so, so asking the questions, I saw you do this, what's the significance, what's the meaning, what do you call that? And these will be the kind of skeptical questions you'll be asking when you start interviewing someone about one of these experiences and trying to find out the strategy of how something works. Modeling, that's essentially what we're doing. How does this work? How does resilience work? If I want to get to the place where I just bounce back when I have a setback, how does that work? What do I need to be doing? What do I need to set up in terms of meaning, understandings, beliefs, so that when I have that experience, I'm not going to let it get me down and keep me down. So the meta model. The meta model was in the 2 books, Structure of Magic. And if you ever have insomnia, these are great books for insomnia. And if you're going to try to read them, be sure you have lots of coffee. Because they're really not well written. There's great information in them, but you have to really work and dig through the Structure of Magic. Now, in 1997, Richard Bandler asked me to do a 25-year update on the meta model, and that became the book Communication Magic. I had written in 1992, 1 and 2 and 3, additional meta model distinctions that I took from Korzybski, and I wrote them, and it was published in lots and lots of NLP materials. And so Richard said that we ought to add that to the meta model. And so he asked me to write that. And so then we had the extended meta model, which has 22 distinctions. The one you learned in metastates, APG, is the multi-ordinality. So multi-ordinality is a normalization of a normalization. So if normalizations itself has frozen the world, then when you take love and you love love, or you take fear and fear fear, or fear love, or love your fear of your love, this multi-ordinality. So the ordinal is the numbers, 1, 2, 3 levels, and multiple is that you're doing it again and again. And now we can create some of the richest human experiences and some of the most disastrous personality disorders with multi-ordinality. So the question for multi-ordinality is, at what level are you using that word? Because every level you use that word is going to mean something different. So when you have a normalization of some other normalization, then at what level are you using the word fear? Is it fear of something out there, or is it fear of your experience, or fear of love as a concept? So this is where the meta model helps us to pull apart the fabric of someone's reality, of how they've constructed it, to see its ecology or lack of ecology. So, anything else in the basic NLP model? This, for the most part, gives us the basic model. A couple other things to add to this is TOTE. We'll get to that later on this afternoon. Test, operate, test, exit. So whenever we start with an experience and we want to get to some outcome, so that's the outcome is what the TOTE is in response to, then we're asking, you're gonna test something to see if you can have that experience. And then as you test it, if the test is negative, then you're going to be operating. and you're going to be doing something. And after you operate, you test again. And if it's still negative, then you go back to operating, and now you're going to just keep doing that until the testing and the operating gets a positive sign, and then you can exit to do that thing. So you have a radio, and you test it. The sound is off. It sounds like it's not on station. So you test it. That is not clear. I want to listen to the music, but the music is jarbled. I'm hearing some words or some other station come in, or just static. So I operate. I move it a little bit. Now I test it again. Can I hear it clearly? Well, a little bit better, but it's still not. So I operate again. Okay, now it's more on station. Let me operate again. Okay, now it's on station. Now it's really clear. Okay, I leave it alone. I'm done. So test, operate, test, exit is the structure of the most basic structure of any strategy or model. So this will be incorporated into what you're doing. You've got an outcome. I wanted to listen to the music clearly and precisely. So I've got to operate. So what do you have to do? So I want to be resilient. I want to eat healthily or exercise health. So what operations? And what am I testing for? So this will be the basic structure of a strategy, and you should have learned TOTE in NLP Prac. Did anybody not learn the test, operate, test, exit model in Practitioner? So this came from a book, 1960, by three of the founders of the cognitive psychology movement, George Miller, Carl Pribram, and Eugene Gallagher. And they wrote the book, The Plans and Structure of Behavior, 1960. So this was 12, 13, 14 years before NLP came around. And so they took this basic one, and what they did, they added representational systems to it. So every time I'm testing visually, auditorily, kinesthetically, then I'm operating visually, kinesthetically, auditorily. So they put representational systems into each of those steps, however many steps there would be, and that became the strategy model. So the strategy model is the TOTE model enriched with representational systems, and enriched in another way. The movements between them can be congruent. It fits. It's incongruent. It doesn't fit. So if it's congruent, it just keeps moving on. If it's incongruent, then it starts operating and just going over and over, operating until it can be congruent. The other thing we added in NLP, or the early people in NLP, is polarity response. So sometimes when I test, whatever happens, I polarize from it. I mismatch it. I go the other direction. So maybe I'm testing for my learning strategy. Yes, I've learned that. Here's where the hidden process behind come in. Yes, I've learned that, but it's not enough. I could have done better. So now I polarize. I'll never learn this. So the relationship between each piece of the test, operate, test, it can be congruent or incongruent, or polarization. Is the person polarizing? And if they are, that's the problem. That the criteria by which they're testing, they may be testing against perfectionism. So no wonder they're polarizing. Then there could be the meta response. So the relationship between test and operate may go up to some frame, some belief, some understanding, some memory, some cultural understanding. So it could go meta, and when it goes meta, you just never know where it's going to go. And so that's where the meta states model helps us to find out where that piece comes in. So we'll be going over the TOTE model, and whatever you are working on in terms of your project, TOTE will be inside there. And so this now brings up the thing I've been waiting to say all morning. And you can write this one down. Mastery's in the details. So the mastery of anything, if you're going to master anything, it is making distinctions, details, it's mastering distinctions, critical distinctions that are essential to the production of whatever it is. That'll be one of the big things you'll be searching for. What are the critical distinctions of resilience? What are the critical distinctions of respectful communication? What are the critical distinctions of an effective group functioning? What are the critical distinctions? And so those distinctions could be at a representational level, could be at a criteria level, could be at a submodality level, but there'll be some distinction, and usually it will, first impression of it will be, it's so little. But this is where the systems thinking comes in. That little thing is a leverage. Turn that and everything changes. And it may be the very opposite of what you would expect. So if you're expecting that brightness makes everything more compelling, and you're working with a romantic dinner, then the critical thing is actually dimness will make it more compelling. So sometimes it's not some great big distinction, it's just a little distinction that makes a big difference. This fulfills the phrase of Gregory Bateson, the difference that makes the difference. So in modeling, as in everything we do in NLP communication, we're looking for the difference that makes the critical difference. You learn that in APG when you learn the difference between self-esteem and self-confidence, being and doing. So when you make that small distinction, there's two aspects of me, who I am and what I do. What I do are expressions. And it takes nothing away from me as a human being, as a person. So being and doing. And if you don't have that distinction, then, and you're working on taking criticism positively, and you don't have that distinction, you'll have the most complicated strategy model trying to figure out how to take criticism positive, and you're missing the essence, the key to it all. One small distinction will make such a big difference on that strategy. So this will be a big challenge to everybody who's global, and especially if you are driven by the global meta program. So I would recommend just set it in your mind, mastery's in the details, and just start valuing it, looking for it, and recognizing the power of that distinction. And if there are limiting beliefs, well, I'll get lost in irrelevant details. If there's limiting beliefs, we'll work on that this afternoon and the next few days. And it's not that you'll lose your global perspective, it's just that you'll have much more range, and when it's necessary, you can move down and get those critical details. And so we're at the point now where I want to do a demonstration on learning strategy and then give you a chance to do the same. So applying all this to learning. So here we have a word, learning. And one of the most basic experiences that we all have is we learn. And in learning, we might use different representational systems to learn and hold it in mind and make those insights, those understandings, those developments. And so I'm going to do a quick demonstration and then have you do the same thing with each other for the purpose of you beginning to find your best learning strategy so that you can use it in these 12 days. So who would like to do this with me? I'd like to interview you around a learning that you've made that's kind of complex, but you made it, you learned it. It didn't even seem like learning, it just seemed like you just picked it up somehow. We're going to use that as our referent experience. I'll interview you for the purpose of identifying how did you do that, because when you find it for you, then you'll have a good learning strategy for this. So BJ's got his hand up first. So you like to do this, BJ? All right, let's get him wired up. Oh, thank you.
My pleasure, Michael.
So what I'd like you to do is to think about something you've learned that's actually pretty complex, but it may not seem complex to you, but you just learned it, and it didn't seem like it was hard to learn. So something that you naturally picked up on, you learned, you developed it, you can respond and use it. What would that be?
A training that I recently attended.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to ask more questions that's on that list. So if you want to write the other questions down, they may or may not be relevant when you do it. So what was that training?
It was a 2-day training on collaborative leadership.
Okay.
And it was, I don't know, 2-3 months ago maybe.
Okay. Okay. And where was it?
It was in
Was that Kuala Lumpur?
Malaysia or Indonesia, I think. Yeah, I think Malaysia. Yes.
Okay, Malaysia. Okay. Okay. So how did you do that? How did you learn to deliver the training of collaborative leadership so quickly?
Okay. Just noticed something interesting. I don't remember what country it was in, but I remember the content. So what did I do is I see myself teaching what I'm learning.
Okay, so when you were in the class listening to the information, you were trying it on and imagining yourself presenting it?
Yeah, where I was standing on the stage when I would deliver which part, what gestures I would do.
Okay.
So there's some parts that work this way, some parts work this way, and some work this way. So
Okay.
I'm seeing where I will put each piece of content.
Okay. It looks like you've got three-dimensional, going
Yes.
out, going to the side, going up.
Right.
How do you decide where to put something?
So how do I decide the order? So for example, the 6 degrees went, well, this is right to left, but for the audience, left to right. So the
Okay.
6 degrees were the foundation. That was like the key part. We need to
Okay.
move people through. So that's the journey.
Okay. So you're doing that kinesthetically. Are you also visualizing?
Yeah, I'm seeing
now?
myself on a stage doing it and saying, here's where you'll start, and then we'll move here, and then we'll move here. So it's sort of a timeline of progression that I see myself walking through.
Okay. So you're out here and you see BJ doing that.
Yeah, yeah, I
Okay,
can
so-
see myself
So
doing
you're
it.
not in it, doing it.
No, I see myself
You
doing
see
it.
yourself. Okay. So
Right.
you're stepping back from yourself, seeing yourself do that.
Yeah, and
Okay.
being able to, much like you mentioned this morning about being the director, some parts where I may see him do it and then back him up and need to do it a different
Okay.
way.
Okay. Is there any words going on?
Yes, the repeating back what I'm hearing.
Okay.
So
Now, are you doing that in yourself or in the image of you?
I'm listening to that person image
it.
of me speak, right?
Okay.
So I can correct it or see if I understand it, because now I'm both the role of an audience
Okay.
of this presenter.
Okay. Any other sounds except the words?
I guess the tone, the speed, where I put the pauses is, like
Okay.
how well I'm delivering it as a presenter.
Okay. Kinesthetically, what are you experiencing?
Kinesthetically, I'm seeing where I'm a different. I guess I'm
Okay.
seeing it. I'm moving along the stage.
Okay.
I'm not aware of a kinesthetic
Okay.
internal.
Okay. What state are you in
Ah.
as you're doing that?
Yeah, I'm in my my training state,
Okay.
which is it's confident, it's playful and humble.
Okay.
I really pull back on
Okay.
the knowledge.
And so to learn the information you're listening to, you've got this internal movie going on
Right.
as to where you're going to put something, and you're testing it by hearing that you say it, and this you checking to see, do I really understand, or how could I improve it or change it?
Yeah, it's almost like when you have an actor who hasn't taken time to learn their lines, and they put a headset in, and so
Okay.
they're being fed the line. So in this case, they're being fed the line by the trainer, and it's coming through a headset into the performer who's delivering it. And I'm watching the performer saying, no, you didn't get that right. Go back, or clarify, or ask
Okay.
this.
Okay.
So
So
that's-
this is your learning strategy.
Yeah.
Okay. The metaphor is that the information is coming in, and you're immediately trying it on, working it out,
Yeah.
and going through there.
Yeah. I guess probably similar to what we don't have translators in the back of the room today, but probably similar to what the translator would be doing when they hear a presenter and then they speak it back.
Okay.
I've just added the movement
Okay.
and the space, which is very important. for me.
Okay. How do you know that you're learning?
That that I'm learning from the me who's presenting. That I'm
Okay.
understanding myself as I explain it back.
Okay. So that's how you know that you're learning.
Geez, that's complex, that part there. Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So that, did I understand what I've just visualized myself saying?
Okay. So let's back up to what's in the back of your mind about all of that. What do you believe about learning?
It's the, what's the word for it? It's the gateway to everything,
Okay.
to travel, to influence,
Okay.
to a better personal
Okay.
life.
So lots of beliefs of value,
Yeah.
the value of it. What do you believe about learning this way, so that the information being channeled right to this image?
That it's immediate and it's pretty easy to recall because the knowledge is filed immediately.
Okay.
It has a place.
Okay.
So everything to do with the degrees of collaboration are there, or there,
Okay.
or there, or there. The steps to take are going out this way. The levels of trust are here. So everything is put into a place so
Okay.
that it's easy to recall
Okay.
and file.
Okay. So it's not only about learning, but it's about remembering,
Yeah.
filing, keeping it, sustaining it.
Mhm.
Okay. Anything in the back of your mind about that would undermine this or fears about it?
Yeah. There are, and even they're what's coming up today, and I need to quiet a little bit about wow, maybe there's too much. Maybe I'm not going to get this. Am I sure? Do I have enough of a background? You know, look around at the other people who are in the room. Am I going to be able to hold my own?
Okay. And so what do you do with that? When those things are said?
I'll bring some self-talk to, well, that was the same message you heard in this case, and you did it, and in this case, and you did it, and in this case. So I kind of have to have a stern talking to myself to
Okay.
and it's right there. I mean, it's right there. Right.
How do you do all of this and are learning from the presenter? Is there anything, how do you stay current so you're not getting lost here and not hearing?
Oh, yeah, excellent. Copious note-taking.
Okay.
So it's here. I'll do maybe a little diagram or a line of where I'm going to be.
Okay.
So much like how yoga uses a position to focus the brain, right? It's not all physical. It's the pen brings me back to here.
So while you're doing this, you're also writing.
Right. Yeah. And so while I'm writing the words of the instructor and not of this yammering monkey in the background.
Okay. So you're writing the words, and then you're hearing that person, the you of the future, say that, and then you're testing it to some extent. Does it make sense?
Right. Go. I understand it.
Okay. And you're writing.
Yes.
What else are you doing?
When I'm not writing, my eyes are often closed.
Okay.
So that's I'm seeing.
Okay.
Which is, I guess, maybe entrenching a little deeper where I'm putting that information.
So let's go to your intention. What's your intention of doing it this way?
My intention of doing it this way,
Yeah.
not the learning, but of doing it this way?
Well, the learning, doing it with the writing and with the visualizing.
Okay. I hold myself to a pretty high level when I want to share something, which is why I mentioned when I do, I'm kind of humble because I'm open that there may be other ideas, but integrity is an important thing for me, and so that if I am going to teach something, I want to know it.
Okay.
Right, and in a deeper level than like, oh, I just took this course and now I'm going to teach it. I just read this book and now I'm going to teach it. To get what's behind the learning, and so my intention is that it helps me bring that integrity. And if someone wants to challenge something, I'm comfortable that I have that.
Okay. Who are you as you're doing this kind of learning? How do you experience yourself? You're observing.
How do I experience myself? I'm not sure I know how to answer that.
Does yourself just disappear?
Yeah, because I guess myself is I'm the future instructor and the future participant. So myself in the moment is more of is like the conduit.
Okay. The skills that you're aware of, the writing, the visualizing, the three-dimensional space, the place to put things for memory, any other skills that you're using to make this learning happen?
The other skills, I guess, are some of the skills I've learned about voice, because it's how I'm going to, when I see myself doing it. So there's the auditory skills that I've learned that I'm aware of what's happening.
So that's why you're running through the auditory, the tone, tempo.
Right.
Okay.
And other skills that I'm using, well, a skill, there's a skill I'm aware of that I'm lacking a little bit, and that is, like even right now as I'm talking, I'm just hearing that huge roar coming from the air conditioner over here. So the screening is something that I'm usually fighting with.
Okay. So that would be one thing that would make this
Yeah.
much better.
Much better.
To do the screening. Okay. Others. As we go through the matrix now, just looking at the back of the mind, you're doing this for others.
Yes.
What do you believe about the participants, about the training? What do you believe that plays a role in your learning?
Yeah, it's the future others, the people who are going to be the participants.
And what do you believe? What do you believe that helps with the learning?
This stuff changes
Okay.
lives for the better.
Okay.
I mean, the text messages and the emails that I
Okay.
get after just confirm, and I'm real clear when I'm talking, saying, hey, what you're going to hear is brilliant. And I'm not saying it because it's coming from me. I'm saying because I learn from brilliant people. I'm very clear that this stuff is so
Okay.
impactful.
And how does that help you learn? What does that do to you, to your state, to your intensity?
Well, it's linked directly to my mission, my
Okay.
life mission of making a difference
Okay.
in a certain.
So you told me you're doing this simultaneously. As you hear, you're putting the words in there, you're checking that out. How else are you experiencing time? And what else do you believe about time that causes you to be doing this now, in this moment, and not doing it later?
For learning, I think is that if I look to, well, I'll learn it later. Later, I'll be learning something else.
Okay.
I'll just pay attention when I get, I'll read the manual back at the hotel or something. No, later will be.
Okay. So
I'll be mindful of something else later. So now is the time.
now is the time.
Now is the time.
Okay. Okay. So now that we've gone through some of the learning strategy of how you learn in a training so that you can deliver and that you can understand it, any other insights that you're gaining, awarenesses that you're gaining about your learning strategy? We've gained one about doing more screening.
Yeah, screening and interesting. I guess just that it's come into my awareness, so I'll probably be able to do it even a little bit stronger now that I'm aware of these, really aware of all of these things that are taking place. And interesting of the things that don't factor in, like where I did it
Yeah.
or when.
Okay.
When we did our little small group exercise this morning, when did I do before today? That's all. So
Okay.
the energy around time or location has no meaning,
Okay.
no impact on it.
Okay.
I don't recall the food or any of that other stuff
Okay.
that came into it.
Okay. The only other thing I heard was about some of the self-talk sometimes that comes
yeah,
up,
yeah.
and maybe doing something that reduces that.
Yeah,
That could help to streamline this strategy.
Yeah, because that self-talk, that non-supportive self-talk, variations of that will show up not only in a learning, but also maybe in a delivering or before coaching or in many situations. So yeah, there's still that self-talk where
Okay.
some greater level of
good.
control or mastery would be
Good.
beneficial.
Good. Well, thank you for the interview.
Oh, thank you. This is really good. Thank you.
Thank you.